Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Bound by wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. The taste of love is sweet when hearts like ours meet. I fell for you like a child. Oh, but the fire went wild. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire, the ring of fire. It is July 1st, 2019 at 12:23 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. You're listening to the Black Hole Podcast, the podcast where the host goes down, 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 deep into the earth to mine coal. Just got off my shift. We got out on time tonight because there's a meeting with the owner of the mine tomorrow morning at a high school south of here in West Virginia. So on shift tonight, did some rib bolting, basically to hold up this plastic meshing that lines the ribs and roof of most of the mine, catches loose debris, holds everything in place. There were some corners at an intersection between a crosscut and a entry that needed wrapped, and learned a little bit how to run the bolter, at least how to put the bolts together and everything. So did that at the beginning of the shift. That was after we supplied the miner. We did that right off the bat. Got the straps, the bolts, the rock dust, and the glue onto the miner and the plates. Each bolt has a plate. It's about 6 inches by 6 inches. It acts almost like a washer, and the plate goes on the the rib strap or the roof strap. After that, me and another black hat resupplied the supply scoop by hand. We weren't able to pull the scoop right up to the rail cars again. We had to pack them by hand. Resupplied that. I guess I failed to mention I was on section again, 5 South, and pretty good night. I'm getting ready to head to a hotel to get 6 hours of sleep before this meeting. Then we're required to work after the meeting, our normal shift, so I guess that's a wrap on today, but thanks for listening, and thanks for listening to the Black Hole Podcast. July 2nd, 2019 at 3:46 p.m., 15:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. There was a cave-in, a fall on the 2 belt that's holding up the mine. So I was given the option to go home early today, which I chose because I had to be at this meeting at 8 in the morning. And traditionally, when there's a meeting like this, you have the option of not working your regular shift, but for some reason this year they made it mandatory to work your afternoon shift, which I guess karma said give the guys off anyway. I want to take this opportunity, since I'm working on section a lot more now, and it seems semi-regular, to explain how the section works, how mining on the section works. So you have the continuous miner. This is a machine that runs on tracks. It has a big grinder wheel up in the front that's about 16 feet long, and a conveyor belt that comes out of the back of it that shoots coal out of it. On the sides are drills so that it can drill 2 roof bolts up into the roof through a strap that goes across the top of the machine. And there's either the same drills or secondary drills that drill into the ribs and put rib straps in the same spot as the roof strap. There's also a large brace that braces against the roof while you're mining to keep it from falling in on the workers. So the coal is mined and shot out the back of the miner and piled up while the men work around the outskirts of the machine, drilling and bolting. Then there's a loader behind that. The loader has like a scoop on the front of it with wheels that grab the coal and put it onto another conveyor belt that's on a boom. Both machines have booms that move the conveyor belt left to right, up and down. This loads the shuttle car. The shuttle car, there's usually 2 on section, it's a 4-wheeled vehicle with a big open tub in the middle of it and a conveyor belt on the bottom of the tub that shoots coal onto the feeder. So the loader loads a big pile of coal onto the shuttle car. The shuttle car, as it's being loaded, engages the conveyor belt a little bit to spread the coal out in its tub, basically, or its bed. Then the loader totally loads it to the brim and rings a bell, and the shuttle car takes off for the feeder. The shuttle cars alternate, and each has a different path through the mine to get from the feeder to the active working face. The shuttle car makes it to the feeder. The feeder is engaged usually, but sometimes shuts off with the belts. And the feeder has basically a conveyor belt that's like steel bars that grabs the coal, puts it through a pulverizer, and puts it onto the belt. Then you have the 2 bolting machines that I've seen on section, the double boom and the center bolter. Those come in after the miner's out of the way and bolt the rest of the roof and rib as needed. So that's basically how it works. The miner has, I think, 4 people working on it. The miner operator and bolters, and then there's one loader operator and 1 operator for each shuttle car. Then you have your out-by guys, which is what I've been doing, that load up the miner and work the scoops, load up the scoop, and scoop the tailpiece or the feeder and everything like that. So that's basically how it works on one section, mining coal with the continuous mining process, the continuous miner. July 6, 2019 at 12:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. You're listening to my podcast, The Black Hole. It's the story about a artist that wants to become the most underground artist in the world, so he becomes an apprentice miner, otherwise known as a red hat. After 6 months, he can take a test and become a black hat, which means he doesn't have to be constantly accompanied by another black hat. He can do his own work within the mine and run more equipment. Just got off my shift. Tonight I was not on 5 South section. I was on Longwall out by crew. When we first got on that section, the Longwall 9W, they had drug a bunch of railroad rail up along the active railroad line, because as the Longwall works its way out, you take all the cable, all the hoses, everything out as you work your way out towards the main line, including the railroad rails, which I talked about another night, delugging the railroad rails. Well, these are the same rails. They were now pulled out alongside of the active railroad rails, and they had a motor with a rail car that they were collecting the rails on. Now, these rail cars have 2 winches, one on each end, designed to pick up the rail and set it on the rail car, but the winch was broke. So what they were doing was, you had about, I'd say 100 feet, maybe 150 feet of rail all connected, and they ran it up onto the rail car, and the motor pushed backwards, and the rail would come up each section at a time, lined up with the rail car, and then they would disconnect that piece of rail using a battery operated impact driver to disconnect the bolts and the plates that hold the rails together. Now, we had about 3 layers of rails stacked up on each side, and in between each layer we laid some railroad ties to separate the stacks. And these railroad ties are metal. They're the ones I delugged a couple weeks ago. Well, I made a mistake tonight. Because I was used to being on a section where there's no trolley wire and carrying similar items by hand to load them onto the scoop, it's part of the danger of switching around sections. I was asked to get some ties, some excess ties that were stacked up, to prepare for the next layer of rail. Well, I carried these on my shoulder, which you're not really supposed to do around trolley wire, and I flipped them down onto the onto the car, and I almost hit the trolley wire with the railroad ties. A guy said, "Whoa, be careful of the wire," and I thought, holy shit, I just swore for the first time, but holy shoot, I almost just lit myself up. So that was the big thing of the night. We unloaded a motor, about 3 rail cars worth of supplies using the scoops, and we drug hose in preparation for the Longwall move. I drug some hose and lined it up. Pretty heavy water hose or oil hose. But that was pretty much the night. I'm glad I didn't light myself up, and I'm here to talk about it, but those are some of the dangers of working in the mine. July 9th, 2019 at 1:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. You're listening to Mitch Miller's podcast, The Black Hole. Just got off my shift in the coal mine, and I think last time I was talking a little bit about hazards of the mine. You know that rock dust that we spread all around and roll in and throw up in the air and blow all over the place? Well, the bags of rock dust, the packaging that they come in, has a warning label known by the state of California to cause cancer. But then again, what isn't known by the state of California to cause cancer? There's not many places that'll start a person like me with a history like mine at nearly $30 an hour. The coal mine is one of those places, but I had a referral to help me get in the door. I want to talk a little bit more about this awareness meeting with the CEO of the company. He's 63 years old. He's had 3 broken necks in mining accidents. Can barely move his neck around. And he has black lung. At age 63, he's ineligible for a lung transplant. They said he would die on the operating table. He disclosed all this personal information to us at the awareness meeting. But it makes you second think your career choice. After all, I wanted to work for a place where I could work 20 or 30 years and retire. But if I'm going to retire at age 60 or 65 and just have black lung, what's the point of saving all that money? The inherent hazards of the mine. After all, I have limited my exposure to what I think are toxic, invisible spectrum waves, such as mobile waves, radio waves. I've limited my exposure, but we do carry radios in the mine, 2-way radios, and there is a dispatcher that dispatches the man trips around the different parts of the mine. So I've severely limited my exposure, but there's still a baseline present. Tonight on shift, I worked out by. I had mandatory overtime, which only ended up being about an hour and 10 minutes. It's supposed to be 2 hours. We shoveled some spillage. Then we drug 7 blocks of rock dust. And then we had to shovel more spillage at the uptake of number 1 belt. And then we had to set a post in the intake, which is number 4 entry on 5 South. That was my night. Oh, then the track was broken and one of the motors kept jumping the track, so we had to respond to that by putting like a track spreader in to hold the track at 42 inches where it's supposed to be, instead of it being sucked in at 41 inches or wherever was causing it to jump the track. So a productive night. Thanks for listening to my podcast. Be winding up the series tomorrow night. July 10th, 2019 at 12:17 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. Thanks for joining my podcast, The Black Hole. You're listening to the world's most underground artist, Mitch Miller. Just got off my shift in the coal mine, started off the shift standing in water under the trolley line, shoveling mud from around the track. In fact, my hard hat hit the trolley wire quite a few times. I was right under it. Then standard out by stuff with the belts, drug, 18 blocks, shoveled spillage. Pretty standard night, got out on time. I want to talk about a project as I'm wrapping up this podcast series, a project that I've been working on for a while now that I'd like to see to fruition. As I mentioned, I've investigated pharmaceutical companies, the medical industry, even the mental health industry. And in my investigations and in my adventures, I discovered a medical device that's used to restrain people to a hospital bed. It was actually used on me in the Czech Republic. And on this device is a patent number. And when I investigated it, I found that there might be a large pharmaceutical conglomerate that is guilty of patent fraud. They may have just let a patent lapse, but it doesn't make sense to me that companies that patent pills and work so hard to secure patents would let a patent on a device so important, that a device that could be abused in so many ways, lapse. So I wrote a screenplay, a film that I'd like to make to publish my findings, because some of these investigations, it's how do I publish my findings, and I don't have a great social media presence. I have a website that gets maybe 30 visits a month, and probably most of those are my mom. And so I have this podcast that who knows how popular it will ever be. So how do I publish my findings? As a film studies bachelor degree holder, I decided to write a screenplay. I mean, I tried to talk to media companies about my investigations, media sources. Nobody took me up on the offer. So this is the project that I'd like to make. And, I'll just kind of pitch it. But I want to talk about the style of the film. It's a short film. I hope to be able to take it to, festivals when it's completed. And the budget, I think I could do it for about $10,000. And that's another reason I took this job as a coal miner. I need to save up to get this project going, but there might be ways that you could help me produce this film. So I want to talk about the style of the film first. It echoes Italian neorealism, which Italian neorealism is a film movement characterized by stories set amongst the poor and working class, filmed on location, frequently using non-professional actors. So it was a film movement in the past that that is kind of the style of the film. The other style is what I've coined. It's a term I've coined. I call it postmodernism. And this is where the film has something, it has something to do with the actors' actual lives. It has something connected to the real life actions of an actor portraying a character. So an example would be the film Birdman, where Michael Keaton plays kind of a washed-up older actor that once played a superhero named Birdman,
and now is doing, I think he was doing a stage show. So Michael Keaton in real life actually did play Batman, although he's probably not washed up really. He's just... so that's my example of postmodernism. It echoes the real lives of the actors. So to summarize the film, it all takes place in a prison cell. I'm the lead actor. I'm the prisoner in the cell. There's surveillance footage of me doing push-ups and exercises while Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire, plays at the beginning. And if you do know Johnny Cash's estate, if they would give me permission to use his music, that would be great. Then the entire short film, about 10 to 15 minutes long, is a series of conversations between the prison guard and the prisoner. And the prisoner slowly reveals some of his social kind of opinions, like I've expressed during this podcast. And he also goes into depth about his theories about this patent fraud case. He even has the patent number in question tattooed on his wedding ring finger. So it's a slow build of conversation, and then at the end you find out that the prison guard is actually the prisoner's father. So the other actor in the film would be my actual father, and this is where the postmodernism and Italian neorealism comes into play. My father was actually stationed in Italy on top of all that, but the postmodern aspect is that my father actually in real life is a prison guard, and I have actually been incarcerated. So it's a twist ending that you kind of find out, but I gave it away, but I'm trying to pitch this film, this project, so that's the idea for the film. So ways you can fund me, go to plotm.com, and there's a PayPal button on there where you can donate money to my PayPal account. Now, I've thought about doing a GoFundMe, but I'd rather do this grassroots style GoFundMe just through my website. GoFundMe gets a cut of any fundraising it does. This would just be the standard PayPal fee, and in both scenarios I would have to pay taxes on any donations as regular income. So as with GoFundMe, you get different gifts at different giving levels. So go to the website, give $10 towards this film, and you can write on the PayPal button in the PayPal menu when you go into it to donate. You can actually write a message that goes to my email. So give $10, say great job on the podcast. I'd love to hear another podcast. Maybe when you get your black hat, you'll do another 8 episodes. Great job. For the $20 giving level, you'll get a PDF of the screenplay to see if you want to help fund this project even more. So at $20, I'll send you a PDF of the screenplay. At $50, you get the PDF, and you'll get a novel, a hard copy of a book I wrote after 4 weeks in solitary confinement. It's the events leading up to my incarceration in solitary confinement. At the $100 level, you'll get the PDF, the novel, and a photograph that I've hand processed using chemicals. It's never been digitized, or a t-shirt, your choice. You can either get the Dictator t-shirt, the Trump Dictator t-shirt, or a photograph signed by me. The book is signed as well. And at the $1,000 level, you'll get a customized painting. Email me first before you send that through PayPal, so that we can customize and work on that together to get you original Mitch Miller painting for the $1,000 level. thanks for listening again, and take care.